The crystalline walls of the Confederation Hall of Justice created strange light patterns that hurt human eyes. Dr. Maya Washington stood quietly as Magistrate Tay looked at her case. He was an Eltharian with skin as white as snow, which was why humans called his kind white judges behind closed doors. Dr. Washington, you broke our laws by contacting the primitive civilization on Proxima Centauri B, Magistrate Tay said in a loud voice that filled the room. Our sensors found your ship there 3 months ago. Maya stood tall, her dark hands behind her back. She had hoped her ship wouldn't be detected, but their technology had failed her. The rules about not interfering with developing worlds are clear, Tay continued. Your fine is 50 kilograms of iridium or its cash value. The crowd of aliens and humans in the room began to talk in hushed tones. For a scientist like Maya, this amount would ruin her research institute. I understand, Magistrate, Maya said calmly, though inside she felt defeated. The fine would end all her important work. Payment is due within 1 day, Tay said as he entered the judgment into his system. This case is closed. As Maya walked out of the chamber, she noticed the stares from various alien representatives. Some looked at her with pity, others with judgment. The Guarani ambassador, with his 4 eyes blinking out of sync, seemed particularly pleased at her punishment. Her assistant, Dr. Soho, waited outside. His face showed worry when he saw her expression. It's as bad as we feared, Maya told him. 50 kilograms of iridium. That's impossible, Soho said. We'd have to shut down the lab, cancel all our research projects. They walked through the busy station corridors where beings from 100 worlds moved about their business. Most barely noticed the human scientist whose career had just been destroyed. We need to talk somewhere private, Maya whispered. There's more at stake than just our research. In her small temporary quarters, Maya activated a privacy field. The soft hum assured her that no one could listen in. The plague on Proxima is spreading faster than we predicted, she told Suho. Without our medication, millions will die. Soho sat heavily on a chair. The Confederation doesn't care. They believe natural selection should take its course, even if it means extinction. That's why we had to break the rules, Maya said. Our nanite medicines were working. The locals thought it was just a better version of their traditional cures. Maya looked out the small window at the stars. One of those points of light was Proxima Centauri, where people who didn't even know humans existed would soon die without her help. We need to call Hannah, Maya decided. It's time to bring everything into the open. Soho looked shocked. Director Kim? But that would expose the whole network. We don't have a choice anymore, Maya said. The Confederation needs to understand what we're really doing out there. She activated her communication device and sent a secure message. Within minutes, a response came through, on my way. Hold position. What's your plan? Soho asked. The truth, Maya replied. The whole truth. Later that night, Maya couldn't sleep. She thought about the people on Proxima, who had no idea that strangers from another world were fighting for their survival. She thought about all the other worlds where her team had broken the rules to save lives. In the morning, the station's artificial daylight cycle began. Maya dressed in her formal uniform, the blue and gold of Earth's Unified Science Academy. A soft knock came at her door. When it opened, Hannah Kim stood there, elegant and calm as always. Though she dressed simply, something about her presence commanded attention. Are you ready to change how the Confederation sees humanity? Hannah asked. Maya nodded. They think we're just primitive newcomers who don't understand galactic ethics. It's time they learned what humanity really stands for. Then let's go educate some aliens, Hannah said with a small smile. As they walked toward the tribunal chamber for what would become a historic confrontation, Maya felt a strange sense of peace. Whatever happened today would change the course of human involvement in galactic affairs forever. The white judge had no idea what was coming. Maya and Soho sat in her temporary quarters on the space station. The room was small but functional, with basic furniture and a view of the stars through a narrow window. Maya paced back and forth while Suho reviewed data on his tablet. Magistrate Tay doesn't understand what's happening on Proxima, Maya said, stopping to look at the star chart on the wall. The fungal plague has already spread across their northern continent. Our models show that within 5 years, 80% of their population will die without help. Soho nodded sadly. I know. But the Confederation has strict rules about this. They believe worlds should develop without outside influence. Even if it means watching millions die? Maya asked, her voice rising slightly. That's not wisdom. That's cruelty disguised as principle. She sat down across from Soho and pulled up her own data screen. It showed images of the Proxima natives, humanoid beings with copper-colored skin and large, expressive eyes. They had developed a civilization roughly equivalent to Earth's medieval period, with farming communities and small cities connected by primitive roads. Our delivery method was perfect, Maya continued. The medical nanites were mixed into compounds that looked exactly like their traditional herbal remedies. We introduced them through trade routes they already used. They believe it's their own medicine working. The system was impressive, Soho agreed. No one would have known if that Confederation patrol hadn't scanned your ship. Maya pulled up another screen showing a map of nearby star systems. Small dots pulsed on several worlds. Proxima isn't the only world we're helping, she said quietly. Director Kim's foundation has operations on 17 planets across this sector alone. Soho looked nervous. You shouldn't tell me this. If they question me. They won't, Maya assured him. But you need to understand why this find matters so much. It's not just about my career or our research. If we have to pay 50 kilograms of iridium, we'll lose funding for at least 6 intervention programs. 6 worlds will lose their only protection against extinction events. She touched her screen again, and it showed images of various alien species, some reptilian, others insectoid, a few almost human-like. None of these civilizations have space travel yet. None know about the Confederation or Earth. But all face serious threats, disease, climate change, asteroid impacts that they lack the technology to address. And we help them secretly, Soho whispered, finally understanding the full scope of their work. Director Kim calls it the Preservation Initiative, Maya explained. We find ways to help that respect their cultural development while preventing extinction. Sometimes it's introducing disease-resistant crops that look like natural mutations. Other times it's deflecting asteroids so subtly they never know they were in danger. The door chimed, interrupting their conversation. Maya quickly closed the sensitive files before answering. A station security officer stood outside. Dr. Washington, Director Kim has arrived and requests your presence in conference room 12. Maya nodded. Thank you. I'll be there shortly. After the officer left, Maya turned to Suho. I need you to prepare something for me. Access our complete mission files for all 17 worlds. Compile evidence of what we've accomplished, lives saved, cultures preserved, ecosystems stabilized. Soho looked alarmed. You're going to reveal everything? Not to everyone, Maya said. Just to Magistrate Tay, at first. There's something about him, I don't think he's as cold as he appears. This is a huge risk, Soho warned. The Confederation could ban all human ships from space for this level of interference. Maya looked out at the stars again. Sometimes you have to risk everything for what's right. Director Kim understands this. It's why she's funded us all these years. She placed a hand on Soho's shoulder. Prepare the files. Focus especially on the Altharian historical records. I think our white judge might find his own history particularly interesting. What about the Altharians? Soho asked, confused. Maya smiled mysteriously. Let's just say humanity's history of helping other species didn't begin with the Preservation Initiative. Director Kim has uncovered some very interesting records about Earth's first encounters with the Altharian homeworld. She checked the time and headed for the door. Send everything to my secure channel. I'll meet you in the tribunal chamber tomorrow morning. What are you planning? Soho called after her. Maya paused at the doorway. To show the Confederation that sometimes breaking the rules is the most moral choice possible. As the door closed behind her, Suho began gathering the files, wondering if tomorrow would mark a new era in galactic relations or the end of humanity's freedom among the stars. The next day, Maya returned to the tribunal chamber with a new determination in her step. Beside her walked Hannah Kim, the director of the Earth Heritage Foundation. Hannah looked calm and collected in her simple gray suit, her presence somehow making the alien architecture seem less intimidating. The chamber was more crowded today. Word had spread about the human scientist who had broken Confederation law, and representatives from many worlds had come to watch. Magistrate Tay sat on his raised platform, his white skin almost glowing under the bright lights. "Dr. Washington, you have returned," Tay noted as they approached the center of the room. "I expected only a payment notification." "I've come to address the fine," Maya said clearly, her voice carrying through the chamber. "But I've brought someone who should speak first." Tay's eyes narrowed slightly as he studied Hannah. "Identify yourself for the record." "I am Hannah Kim, director of the Earth Heritage Foundation," Hannah said with a small bow. "I would like to submit evidence for your consideration before payment is arranged." The magistrate tilted his head. "Evidence is only considered before judgment is passed. Your timing is incorrect. This evidence relates not only to Dr. Washington's case but to 17 others across the sector," Hannah explained. She removed a small device from her pocket and placed it on the transmission pad before her. "With your permission, I would like to share this with the tribunal." Curious despite himself, Tay nodded. The device activated, and suddenly the chamber's display screens lit up with images of various worlds. Data scrolled alongside them: planetary conditions, population figures, threat assessments, and intervention protocols. The chamber grew quiet as everyone stared at the displays. Tay leaned forward, his normally expressionless face showing clear surprise. "This indicates a systematic program of intervention across multiple developing worlds," he said slowly. "All conducted by humans? All funded by your organization?" "Yes," Hannah confirmed, standing tall despite the murmurs now rippling through the audience. "The Earth Heritage Foundation has operated the Preservation Initiative for 23 years. Dr. Washington is not merely a scientist who broke a rule. She is our chief field coordinator, overseeing our most important missions." Maya stepped forward. "What you're seeing, Magistrate, is evidence that we have saved 12 species from extinction events, preserved 34 languages that were disappearing, and stabilized ecosystems on 17 worlds. All in violation of Confederation law," Tay noted, though his voice lacked its usual firmness. "Yes," Maya admitted. "We broke your laws to follow a higher one, the preservation of life and diversity across our galaxy." Hannah touched the device again, and new information appeared on the screens. "On Proxima Centauri b, the fungal plague has already killed 2 million beings. Our intervention has saved an estimated 12 million more. On Kepler 442b, we deflected an asteroid that would have caused a mass extinction. On Tau Ceti e, we introduced a harmless bacteria that neutralizes toxic metals that were poisoning their water supply." The representatives from various worlds were now talking openly among themselves. Some looked outraged, others impressed, and many simply confused by this human approach to galactic citizenship. "This is still a violation," Tay said, but his voice was thoughtful now. Maya stepped closer to his platform. "Magistrate Tay, please access file 87 Delta in our submission. I believe you'll find it particularly relevant." With visible hesitation, Tay touched his control panel. A new file opened on his private screen. As he read, his pale face seemed to grow even whiter. His hand trembled slightly. "This information is classified at the highest level," he said quietly. "How did you obtain this?" "Director Kim's foundation doesn't just preserve other species," Maya explained. "We also preserve history, including our own. Those records were in Earth's deep archives." Tay looked at Hannah with new respect. "Is this accurate?" "The gamma-ray burst that nearly struck the Eltharian home system 2 centuries ago was deflected by early human ships," Hannah finished for him. "Yes. Before official first contact, before the Confederation even knew we existed, humanity had already developed enough technology to detect the threat to your world. Our ancestors chose to help, even though your people would never know." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. The other representatives looked between Tay and the humans, sensing something momentous but not understanding what. "Are you saying," Tay finally spoke, his voice barely audible, "that humanity interfered with Altharian development? That our civilization exists today because of human intervention?" "We call it compassion," Maya said gently. "Now do you understand why we couldn't stand by and watch the people of Proxima die?" Tay stood suddenly. "This tribunal will recess until tomorrow. I must consult with the Confederation Ethics Committee. This matter requires further consideration." As the chamber emptied, Soho approached Maya and Hannah. "That was either very brave or very foolish," he whispered. Maya watched Tay's retreating form. "Sometimes the only way to change a bad law is to show why it's wrong." Magistrate Tay sat alone in his private chamber, surrounded by holographic displays. The files from Maya and Hannah were open before him, along with ancient Altharian historical records. His white fingers moved through the data, comparing details, searching for inconsistencies. There were none. 200 Earth years ago, before humans had officially joined the galactic community, a gamma ray burst from a collapsed star had been on a direct path toward the Altharian home system. The burst would have sterilized his planet's surface, killing all life. Historical records showed that the deadly radiation had miraculously changed course due to unexpected stellar phenomena. But the human records told a different story. Early Earthships, equipped with primitive gravity manipulation technology, had intercepted and redirected the burst. The mission had been dangerous and costly. 3 of their 7 ships were lost with all crew. Yet they had proceeded, saving a species that didn't even know they existed. Tay's hands trembled as he closed the files. His entire life, the lives of everyone he had ever known, existed because humans had once broken the same rule he had punished Dr. Washington for violating. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Tay called. The door slid open to reveal Duna, the Confederation Ethics Committee chairperson. The tall, blue-skinned Palaxian looked troubled. "I've reviewed the human evidence," Duna said without greeting. "It's problematic." "It's true," Tay replied. "I've confirmed it with our own historical data." Duna took a seat across from him. "This isn't just about one human scientist anymore. We're facing a systematic violation of our most fundamental principles." "And yet," Tay said quietly, "I find myself questioning those principles. The non-interference doctrine has guided the Confederation for 3,000 years, Duna reminded him. "Yes," Tay agreed, "but the humans have raised an important question: is allowing preventable extinction more ethical than careful intervention?" He stood and paced the room, his white robes flowing around him. "I always believed our doctrines were about respect for natural development. But now I must ask, what is natural about a gamma ray burst? About a plague? About an asteroid impact? These are random cosmic events, not evolutionary pressures." "You sound like a human," Duna observed. "Perhaps that's not a criticism," Tay replied. "Their records show 17 interventions, all conducted with remarkable care to preserve cultural integrity. No species they helped knows they were helped. They believe they solved their own problems." Duna leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Magistrate?" "That perhaps humans have something to teach us," Tay said. "Their moral framework seems more flexible than ours, but not without principles." A notification appeared on Tay's screen. Representatives from 12 species had requested to attend tomorrow's tribunal session. Word was spreading quickly through the station. "This case has become much larger than one scientist's find," Duna noted. "Yes," Tay agreed. "I believe we may be at a turning point in Confederation ethics." The next morning, the tribunal chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from worlds throughout the sector had arrived overnight, eager to witness the proceedings. Maya and Hannah entered together, followed by Siho carrying additional data devices. Magistrate Tay appeared different today. His normally rigid posture seemed more relaxed, his expression thoughtful rather than stern. The 12 ethics committee members sat in a special section, including species rarely seen at routine tribunals. This session will address not only the case of Dr. Washington, Tay began, but a larger question that has emerged from her evidence. The chamber grew quiet as everyone listened intently. For 3,000 years, the Confederation has maintained that non-interference with developing worlds is our highest principle. We believe this showed respect for natural development and prevented harm through unintended consequences. Tay's gaze swept the room before settling on Maya. The humans have shown us something unexpected, that sometimes non-interference itself can be harmful. That sometimes compassion requires action, not distance. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement while others looked concerned. The ethics committee spent the night reviewing all 17 human intervention cases, Tay continued. We found no evidence of cultural disruption, technological contamination, or harmful outcomes. Instead, we found careful, minimal actions taken only to prevent extinction events. He looked directly at Hannah. Most surprisingly, we found that humanity has been practicing this philosophy since before joining the Confederation, including an incident directly affecting my own homeworld. The chamber erupted in conversation as species turned to one another in surprise. Tay raised his hand for silence. Tomorrow, I will deliver a revised judgment. For tonight, I ask all representatives to consider a difficult question: is our highest duty to our rules, or to life itself? As the session ended, Maya turned to Hannah with hope in her eyes. He's actually considering changing the doctrine. Humans have always been good at challenging rigid thinking, Hannah replied with a small smile. It's what makes us both troublesome and valuable. Behind them, representatives from a dozen worlds approached, eager to learn more about the Preservation Initiative and what it might mean for the future of the Confederation. The tribunal chamber was completely full when Magistrate Tay entered the next morning. Representatives from almost every Confederation species had arrived overnight, creating a colorful mosaic of beings throughout the room. Some had traveled for hours just to witness this historic session. Maya, Hannah, and Soho sat together at the front. Maya's hands were clasped tightly in her lap, betraying her nervousness despite her calm expression. Hannah looked serene, as if the outcome was already decided in her mind. Soho kept checking his data tablet, making sure all their evidence was organized and ready. Magistrate Tay took his position, his white robes flowing around him as he settled into his chair. He looked different today. There was a new energy in his movements, a sense of purpose that hadn't been there before. This tribunal is now in session, he announced, his voice carrying through the chamber without need for amplification. After extensive review and consultation with the ethics committee, this tribunal has reached a new determination. The room grew completely silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to quiet down for this moment. The fine against Dr. Maya Washington is hereby rescinded, Tay declared. A wave of whispers swept through the chamber. Maya closed her eyes briefly in relief. Furthermore, Tay continued when the noise subsided, the Confederation Council has established a provisional committee to explore what shall be known as the Compassionate Intervention Doctrine. This doctrine will examine ethical exceptions to our non-interference policies. The whispers turned to open conversation as various delegates turned to each other in surprise. Tay raised his hand for silence. For 3,000 years, the Confederation has believed that the most ethical approach to developing civilizations was complete non-interference. The evidence presented by Earth's representatives has caused us to reconsider this absolute position. Tay gestured toward Maya and Hannah. The human approach demonstrates a middle path, careful, minimal intervention designed only to prevent extinction events while preserving cultural integrity. He touched his control panel, and images appeared on the chamber's screens, the various worlds where the Preservation Initiative had worked. On each of these worlds, humans found ways to help that respected the natural development of the species involved. The beings on these worlds believe they solved their own problems. Their cultural evolution continues uninterrupted. Tay stood now, adding solemnity to his words. Dr. Washington, your actions violated our letter of law while honoring its spirit, the preservation of life and diversity. The Council formally requests your participation as Human Ethics Advisor to help formulate these new guidelines. Maya's eyes widened in surprise. She had hoped for forgiveness, but not for such a complete reversal. "I would be honored, Magistrate," she managed to say. "One final matter," Tay added. "The Earth Heritage Foundation's Preservation Initiative will receive official recognition and access to Confederation resources, provided all future interventions adhere to new oversight protocols." He looked directly at Hannah. "Director Kim, your organization has shown remarkable wisdom in its approach. The Confederation will benefit from your experience as we develop this new doctrine." Hannah bowed slightly in acknowledgement. As the formal session concluded, the chamber erupted in activity. Representatives approached Maya and Hannah from all directions, eager to discuss the implications of this ruling. Some wanted to share stories of worlds they knew were suffering. Others expressed concerns about how to determine when intervention was justified. Later that evening, Maya, Hannah, and Soho gathered in the station's observatory lounge. Through the large windows, they could see ships arriving from various worlds for the newly formed ethics committee meetings. "I never expected this outcome," Soho admitted, raising his glass. "I thought we'd be lucky to avoid prison, let alone become official advisors." "Humanity has something the Confederation needs," Maya said, watching the ships dock at the station. "We understand nuance in a way many older species have forgotten. They've had rules for so long they stopped questioning their purpose." "It's always been our strength," Hannah agreed. "We're young enough to be flexible but wise enough to be careful." A message appeared on Maya's tablet. It was from Magistrate Tay, requesting her presence at the first committee meeting the next morning. "The real work begins tomorrow," she sighed. "Writing these new guidelines won't be easy. But it will save lives," Hannah reminded her. "And not just on Proxima. Think of all the worlds that will benefit once the Confederation adopts a more balanced approach." Maya looked out at the stars, thinking of the countless civilizations developing on distant worlds, facing challenges they couldn't possibly overcome alone. "To humanity's best qualities," Soho said, raising his glass again. "Our stubborn insistence on doing what's right, even when it breaks the rules. And to a galaxy that's finally ready to learn from us," Maya added, rather than just teaching us. As they touched glasses, a new ship docked at the station, the first delegation from Proxima Centauri, invited to join the Confederation once the plague had been openly addressed. The future would be different now, for humans and for all the species who would benefit from this new understanding of compassion.